So, first of all, we will start now with the first speaker, the first presentation about the choice of platform trial for the European COVID response by Barbara Kerstiëns. Barbara is the head of the unit responsible for combating disease in the People Directorate at the European Commission, and she has a background in international public health. And I see also on her CV that she used to work for Médecins Sans Frontières. So ECRIN is Clinical Trials Sans Frontières. No. And she got her PhD from the University of Leuven. So please, Barbara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jack. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you and to share our perspectives on funding EU-wide platform trials. So next slide, please. I'm speaking, of course, to an audience that is very familiar with the issues related to trials and the COVID-19 pandemic, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of the background and rationale for the choice of platform trials. So as you all know, at the start of the pandemic, we observed the fragmentation of study initiatives, a multitude of small trials that did not lead to conclusive or not allowed to draw conclusive conclusions from these trials. So there was a call by the European Medicines Agency to pool resources for large-scale, multi-center, multi-arm trials, because we need to have the agility to act rapidly and generate new research findings. It's important to have an inclusive geographical scope. As you know, the virus doesn't know any borders. And what was important also is to help overcome the political, ethical, administrative, regulatory, and other hurdles to be able to implement these trials rapidly. So in discussion with the member states last year, we developed the ERA versus Corona action plan. And the second priority action that was agreed on was to extend and support these large EU-wide clinical trials and for clinical management of COVID-19 patients. So we mobilize, as you are well aware, large amounts of funding under Horizon 2020, our research framework program, and focusing on the therapeutic platform trials. But I also want to point out to you that we supported the development of a vaccine trial network and also called COVID-19 large cohort. Next slide, please. So why the choice for adaptive platform trials? Because it allows you to study multiple interventions in a disease or condition in a perpetual manner, with interventions entering and leaving the platform. And in the context of the pandemic, this is really what is needed, because back last year, we didn't know anything about the virus, how to best manage people affected, whether with mild disease or severe disease. And we support both platform trials and responsive adaptive trials. So because of that, and because of the fact that this is very much suited to the COVID-19 pandemic, we really pushed or stimulated the development of these trials. Next slide, please. This slide is quite busy, but I will go into more details in the next slides, but it shows you that we have two large-scale therapeutic platform trials that are supported through EU funding, and that have, as Jack mentioned, a common coordination framework with a trial coordination board and a joint advisory mechanism. Next slide, please. So Remap CAP, randomized, embedded, multifactorial adaptive platform trial for community-acquired pneumonia. I'm sure that the majority of the audience here is well familiar with this trial, but what I think is important to point out that this was set up through previous European Union funding. So this was set up under the PREPARE project, and then later on integrated in the Recover project. And I think that it is important to point out that the development of such trials needs indeed preparation. And we could only, let's say, the fact that we stand where we are now is based on the thinking about how we should better prepare to address public health emergencies or pandemic. So this important investment that was made in the past years, so 2014, 2001, allowed the researchers to be where they are now. And the trial, meanwhile, from a European trial has developed into an international trial. And I'm sure you will hear much more about Remap in the future sessions. What is important, and that's why it's presented here today as well, is this trial has a very innovative, responsive, adaptive trial design. And this responsiveness is what is suited for the pandemic response, but maybe it also presents some of the challenges in implementation, and especially also then to get to overcome these barriers that I alluded to. Next slide, please. The other large trial is the soon-to-start SOLIDAC trial that is based on the Discovery trial. So the Discovery trial is a phase 3 randomized controlled trial. It was based in France, or originating from France, an add-on trial to WHO Solidarity. But we provided support to extend this trial in Europe and beyond. And now this SOLIDAC trial will start soon, which is a multinational European multi-arm COVID-19 trial. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we thought it was important, if you have large-scale trials ongoing EU-wide and reaching out internationally, at least in the context of Europe, you have same agency, for example, the European Medicines Agency, dealing with both of these trials. But also, if you want to allow synergies between the research groups, if you want to allow to capitalize on the data that are generated by either of these trials, it seemed important to us to ensure adequate coordination between these two trials. And in discussion with the coordinators and the groups and sponsors of the trial, we agreed to develop a coordination mechanism between these two trials, and we set up the Trial Coordination Board and the Joint Access Advisory Mechanism. So what is this Trial Coordination Board? It's inclusive. It includes the trials, Remap and SOLIDAC Discovery, but also other trials, so it's open. For example, it includes the Amuravit trial or the UK Recovery trial. And it also includes, this Trial Coordination Board, includes other policy or regulatory authorities. So the industry is involved in this Trial Coordination Board, and obviously the European Medicines Agency. Now, this is about coordinating, agreeing, discussing what are priorities, what are some of the initial findings. But we thought also that while the trials that are currently ongoing focused initially on more repurposing, there will be new molecules, new compounds, promising compounds entering into phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. And it seemed important to have another mechanism that allows the holders of promising compounds to start a discussion on how they could access the trials and have their compound included in the trials. So this is the Joint Access Advisory Mechanism. So this allows also to discuss the proposal for new study arms. And then also the idea is that this Joint Access Advisory Mechanism will provide recommendations for the adaptive platform trials to begin negotiations with investors and companies. And then the Trial Coordination Board can also facilitate contact between the different DSMBs if indicated. Next slide, please. So these trials that started last year are delivering results, and I just wanted to highlight the timeline. We're talking about published results between September and February and going on. And what I think for the policy actors and the policy decision makings, it's important to know that these trials have delivered information on treatments that work, and I've highlighted some of them here, but also importantly, on treatments that do not work, which is equally important if we're talking about the management of patients and trying to save lives. Next slide, please. But on adaptive platform trials, we feel that we need to go further. We need more innovation in trial design and analytical methods. We have now, thanks to new technologies and also the ability to capture real-world data, we need to capitalize on these opportunities and have new trial designs. But also by including being able to capture more data, have these innovative trials designed, we can also help ensure that there's a timely knowledge translation. And coming back to the pandemic, in order to improve clinical management, of course, it's the fact that we have robust results rapidly that really can affect clinical practice immediately, which, of course, if we would have results 3 years down the road in the context of a pandemic, that doesn't help. Of course, when I'm talking about we need more innovation in trial design and analytical methods, it's important to keep in mind that we have to have robust and credible results. So just to point out to you that in this push for a little bit more innovation, we launched a call last year towards the new generation of clinical trials. So it's methods research. And the project CCE DART, while it focuses on cancer, will probably lead to methods, validated methods for innovative trials design that could be applicable in other areas. Next slide, please. Then I was referring to the Pearl barriers. We need to help, or let's say we would like to help in developing more streamlined implementation of complex trials in emergency, because the trial is complex, but it aims to deliver rapid results. And in emergencies, we need to have rapid results. So let's say we would like to see a better and integrated use of master and sub-protocol, and then to allow also flexibility and rapid adaptation. And Jacques de Motte was already referring to the IML Pearl project, which is a strategic alliance between the public and private sector to transform the way clinical trials are conducted, to improve and accelerate the drug development process, and also, not to forget, place the patient at the center. And in parallel, the European Commission, in collaboration with the European medicines agencies and other national agencies, is working on developing practical guidance to address these major regulatory hurdles, specifically associated with complex trials, because this is what we're talking about today. So I hope that by giving you some insights in the rationale for how the European Union is mobilizing funding for clinical trials in this pandemic, you will start with good discussions at the more technical level from now on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you for this presentation, and thank you also for the strong and continuous support of the European Commission in the development and the conduct of this series of platform trials. I think this is a very strong strategic decision from the Commission, not only to fund individual clinical trial addressing one single question, but also to establish this platform trial that are a mix between a clinical trial and an infrastructure, sustainable infrastructure, able to address multiple questions at the same time. Thank you very much for this initiative.